Claude, it's really nice to have you right in front of this Capitol building in Washington to talk about VOA. And I had a few questions to ask you. Looking back at your time, Claude, at Voice of America, how would you describe the role of VOA? What it actually played on people's lives, especially in countries where access to independent information was limited in your time. You probably remember that.
Right, absolutely. I have to tell you, the French to Africa service started after the death of John Kennedy, the assassination of John Kennedy. Until then, there was still a French service broadcasting mostly to Europe, but then they decided, Europe has free media and they don't need us anymore. We served our purpose during World War II very successfully, and even after that during the Cold War. So the French to Africa service was created at the time where all the former French colonies were becoming independent.
Right.
So the programming, of course, changed, and we made an information that was aimed to this country, that was understandable to this country. And I joined Voice of America in 1966, just 2 years after the French to Africa service started. And that's changed a lot, as you know.
And I know. We came after you guys, so we know.
You're the next generation.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we're meeting in a very sad circumstances.
Exactly.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
it will get better.
Yeah.
But at the time, we really had very few programs. We were broadcasting, I think, about 5 hours a day. We didn't have at the time a morning show, and that came a little bit later. And thanks to our famous DJ, and now Jeff succeeded with him.
Exactly.
The new
I took over Georges Collinet, Roger Muntu. I took over these legends.
And they were legends and the stars,
Yeah.
and they really helped the Voice of America.
Yeah.
Now, for my part, I was more on the news side.
Right. Exactly.
But I have a show, it started in 1969.
Right.
Antenne USA, which was a window on America. And we talked about a little bit of politics, of course, but mostly, new movies and what's going on.
Right.
The French is
Pretty much the culture.
Yeah, right, exactly. To try to make the American civilization.
Exactly. Known to it in the French or Francophone world.
Would understand, and it worked very well.
Yeah.
I remember when I was traveling to Africa, the success of the American library.
Right.
It was always full, and you probably know.
Oh, wow.
that, from kids.
Yes.
And they were dreaming to come to
America, right.
And I was receiving a lot of letters all the time asking me how could they get to a U.S. university.
Right.
So we had an impact in the time, as no problem.
Exactly. And that impact, Claude, I feel it too, because as you mentioned, we succeeded you guys, and me being on the cultural side, succeeding Roger Guifoli, and then Georges Collinet, those big legends. I felt it too, because my show was so popular that until today, I still have people contacting me, asking me what's going on, Roger. What can we hear you guys anymore? And the saddest thing is the impact. I didn't realize until the shutdown of VOA. People calling me, like in the eastern part of the Congo, as you know, there's trouble going there. There's all these killings going on in the eastern Congo. People calling me, telling me that, Roger, we do not have information if the rebels are coming anymore. We are listening to you guys. You guys were giving us the news, and we could run from one village to another because we heard from VOA that the rebels were coming. And now the rebels are just coming, and nobody knows, and I'm really shocked when I hear this kind of news.
I'm glad you mentioned the Central Africa and the former Zaire about the RDC, because we had a wonderful reporter and unfortunately died much too young, Ferdinand Ferreira.
Yes.
And he was almost like he was on the side. He knew exactly what was going on. And every time, we we revealed to the Congo.
Yeah, you guys were revealing this. You guys
What was happening, the scandals and things like that. So that's
people were ready to run from one village to another. It was actually saving lives. Saving life. So, Claude, many listeners and viewers, as I was mentioning, have shared emotional reactions, to the news of VOA actually closing. Some of them still didn't even have a clue that actually VOA closed because it was sudden. We didn't even have time to go on air and tell them that we're shutting down. So, from your perspective, Claude, what does this closure mean for those audience who relied on that VOA for truth and balanced reporting?
It's a huge loss. I mean, that's a huge loss. Now, as you know, who was replaced us? Well, we still have some Western broadcaster like RFI and some other new
Deutsche Welle,
BBC. It'll be that. But beside that, it's Russian propaganda and Chinese propaganda.
Exactly.
And
that's like,
I think they say in physics, nature hates the void, So they are here. They feel the void. The Russian propaganda, the Chinese propaganda, it's a disaster. And even if you go above what's concerned Africa, and God knows they have problems, everywhere. You have Sudan, you have the RDC. I mean, it's a long list.
It's a long list, of course.
But, you have the international situation, and they need to know exactly what's going on.
Exactly.
And the Voice of America was very useful in that because we covered not only Africa, but the rest of the Ukraine, and all of the big issues now, the tariffs, the relation with China, and all this. So it's a huge loss.
It's a definitely huge loss. During key historical, or I should say, called political moment, VOA often became a lifeline for people seeking accurate news that you guys were actually doing. Can you share a moment from your personal experience? A moment, when you realized that VOA was actually, as we just mentioned, a life-changing impact. A bunch of those.
I'm going to tell you two anecdotes. I know a kid, I forgot from which country in Africa, but he thanked me, thank you, Lord, because he said, thanks to you, I got my baccalaureate. Because it happened that the Easter question was about Lincoln. And of course, I had, in the course of my show, talked a lot about Lincoln. Another one, and that's the one maybe I'm the proudest, because I may say I saved the life of someone.
Oh, wow.
And this is the story. It was a minister, I think it was Minister of Foreign Affairs, in Mobutu government.
Mobutu government in Zaire and Congo.
All right, yeah. So that goes back probably in the 80s, something like that. But it was Mobutu said, I don't want you anymore. So he had to leave the country. He was expelled. He went to Belgium. And after a period of time, Mobutu told him, you can go come back now. I forgive you. But on his way from Europe, he went to Washington before flying to Zaire, to Kinshasa. And I had the privilege to interview him, So we talk about it a lot. And my last question was, but are you sure? Mobutu promised you to pardon you, but are you sure he will? Something like that. Right. That's it. He said, Mobutu gave me my word, and I believe it. Okay?
Right.
Now he flies to Kinshasa, and my God, he was escorted by the presidential guard. Mobutu made sure that he didn't even sneeze, catch your cold. So that tells you that we have a certain power.
Yes.
So when he came back later, he was back in Greece, you know, and he visited Mobutu at the VOA, and he comes to me and he said, "Claude, you saved my life." And I said, "Wow."
This is profound.